Wow, can you believe some of the text that we got this last week from Taylor Swift to Blake Lively and vice versa? Can you believe it? It's not that I can't believe or that I would have difficulty anticipating that they said some catty things about Baldoni or that, surprise, surprise, Taylor Swift is an angry modern Me Too feminist, and she was completely sold a bill of BS by Blake Lively and willingly went along with it because it coheres with her. All the BS she was getting from Blake Lively about Justin Baldoni, it coheres perfectly with Taylor Swift's aggrieved worldview. And so, is any of that a surprise? No, but I have to say that was actually what did surprise me was the level of nastiness and coarseness in some of those messages. I would not have expected Taylor Swift to call this dude a bitch. Yeah, I use the word all the time. It's nothing like that. It's just that this is gonna really pop that nice little bubble of an image that Taylor Swift has so carefully cultivated over the years. And so that was a surprise to me, some of the level of coarse language. And then the other thing that was a surprise to me is just the level of sucking up that Taylor Swift was doing to Blake Lively at times. Now, Blake Lively also was sucking up to her in ways just as or more ridiculous, but you'd expect that from Blake Lively in this situation as the lesser star. I mean, there's just nobody else. If we're talking about the classifications of celebrities, you've got the D list and the C list. You don't hear about a C list very much, but the D list, you've got the B list, you've got the A list. Well, Blake Lively, I think I would have considered a B plus, A minus list prior to her marriage to Ryan Reynolds. But her marriage to and by the way, same with Ryan Reynolds. I thought he would have been prior to their marriage like a B plus, A minus. But after that marriage, it solidifies them as a quote unquote power couple. And then you had the success of the Deadpool movies. And so that did take both Ryan and Blake into the A list category. But there is still a gulf between the kind of A list, kind of barely hanging on to A list category of Taylor Swift, of Blake Lively, and the stratospheric, nobody can touch her. She is apex predator. Taylor Swift is. When it comes to the Hollywood food chain, Taylor Swift is what you call an apex predator. In fact, if any of you have ever seen the movie The Meg, that Jason Statham Jaws knockoff about what is it, Megalodon or whatever. It's like one of the biggest like creatures in the history of the world. And it's this big dinosaur fish thing, right? If you've ever seen the introduction, and by the way, hello everybody, what is up? If you've ever seen the introduction to that show, The Meg, to that movie, The Meg, it shows us just so in such a sophisticated way. It's actually a really great intro. I wish the rest of the movie were as good as the intro, but it shows us the food chain, the prehistoric food chain, if you will, right? And so you see like a little cute little dinosaur getting eaten by a bigger dinosaur, eaten by a bigger one, and finally, then of course everybody's scared to death of the T-Rex, right? And so you see the T-Rex just running, rampage through the prehistoric jungle or whatever, and the T-Rex chomps down on some poor dinosaur or something and eats it. And then you think, okay, that's the end. And then what happens? Then out of nowhere, out of the ocean, this gigantic fish dinosaur thing comes up out of the ocean. It grabs the T-Rex and it dives back into the ocean, making a giant splash as it does. That is the Meg. Apex predator. Well, Taylor Swift is an apex predator when we talk about the celebrity food chain. And so I totally expected to see Blake Lively sucking up to her like she did. But to see the kind of the mutual suckage going on there, it was a little bit surprising even for me. But what amazing validation this has been for all of us who have been saying for a while that Taylor Swift was not innocent, not so innocent in this situation, that we suspected that Taylor Swift was every bit as much of a mean girl or a manipulator and an aggrieved modern Me Too feminist as Blake Lively. And so what validation for us? And yeah, somebody mentioned Candace Owens earlier this week, that Candace Owens was a big promoter of that idea. And yeah, I'll give Candace Owens all kind of credit where it is due. It is unfortunate to me. It is frustrating. I would almost say heartbreaking in a way to see the turn that Candace Owens's coverage of the world has taken. The Macron thing, I never agreed with that, but it was like, okay, everybody's wrong sometimes. But the TPUSA situation, and the not that I'm a huge fan of anyone in this, but the turn that Candace Owens' coverage taken the last several months, it is truly sad for her as well. So I hope that she will pivot out of it. I have a message for Candace Owens. Candace, if you happen to see this, yeah, I know you have me blocked now, but if you happen to see this, or someone who knows Candace happens to see this, this is my advice to you, Candace. Run from, or not run, abandon the TPUSA conspiracy theories and go back to what you've been doing so well, which is covering stuff like Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And yeah, you're going to lose some fans, and some of your conspiracy minded fans will be pissed off. But it's kind of like, when you've got an infected limb and the doctor's like, you either cut off the limb or the whole body is going to get the infection and die. I do think, Candace, it would be best for you to cut off that limb of all this TPUSA conspiracy craziness and all of that. Just cut it off. Start easing away. As I said on Ethan Ralph's show earlier, I did his show for half an hour, and we talked about this too. Treat it like you're tapering off a drug. I'm gonna cover TPUSA less and less and less and less, and then finally I'll just get away from that. That's my advice, Candace. Anyway, but back to Taylor Swift and Blake Lively. We will look at some of the text individually, because I know that a lot of you have already seen and read them, but I have not had time to really look at them or react. I did a short video I hope you'll watch that basically I'll kind of recap in a number of ways here before our guests arrive. By the way, tonight on the show, we're going to have, I wanted it to be a round table, but it's actually going to, I think, be more like ships passing in the night. We're going to have a series of guests coming in and out as their Friday nights will allow. Thank you so much for that. So as soon as I see people in my waiting room, in my green room, so to speak, then I will bring them on. But we've got Zach Peter is going to be coming on for just a bit. He already had dinner plans, and he was nice enough to make some time for me before then. So he's going to be coming on any minute, and hopefully, and maybe around here for half an hour, maybe a little less, whatever. Glad to have him though, to get his reaction, because I have not had time to watch much coverage at all of this situation. I've been busy my own life, got transitions and things going on, staying filming at a neighbor's right now because our internet went out, and I've been visiting my significant other, and I've been visiting actually some family. So a lot going on, and I actually might be, as it turns out, moving to Austin, but that's a whole other story. So anyways, but as people come in, we're going to talk to him. Zach Peter, Lethal Lauren, Nedley is coming on. And of course, Citizen Journalist. I always call her Citizen Justice. Citizen Journalist is coming on. And then my old friend, Ewood, he was one of the first people that I talked about this Blake Lively mess with. If you'll remember, he is a singer and songwriter and artist in Britain, and I think based in London. And he actually worked as an intern on the set of Gossip Girl when it was filming in Paris, and had some negative experiences with Blake Lively. More so was just allowed to observe her and her behavior and draw some conclusions from that. But he did have a weird experience where she went out of her way to ignore him, and then was making fun of him to other people on the set. And so anyways, but he also had great things to say about Leighton Meester. But I had interviewed him a while back, and guess who picked up that interview? Megyn Kelly, out of nowhere in the fall. She picked up that interview, found it, and showed it on her program, which was awesome. As she talked about Blake Lively and various bad things that she's heard over the years, as I have, as everyone has, about Blake and her behavior on sets and stuff. So Ewood is going to be joining me at some point as well. And so, yeah, it's going to be a fun time. But hello to everyone. Hello to my mods, Vanessa and Laura B and Rebel Bird and I wanted to say Tony. AJ. It's AJ. Why did I want to say Tony? Anyways, okay, so I'm going to say some stuff, and then I want to look at some of your comments and get your feedback. I want to try to involve the chat more than I normally do on streams, because I know we've all been talking about this stuff for several days, but because this happened kind of in the middle of me traveling and also looking for a job. I'm looking for a new job as part of moving. And anyway, long story. We'll get to that some other time. But anyway, the point is, I'm in like a period of transition and kind of several places at once and whatever. And so I did not really have my eye on this round of Discovery releases that we have gotten in the last few days. I saw and heard people saying that, oh, there was some stuff that might be released, or some big stuff that was coming or whatever. But as you all know, I really, for a while, I have to admit, I got bored with this case, and I got kind of demoralized when Baldoni's suit was dismissed and then the rest of it was dropped, even though I know we were talking about how we all expected it. And this is the nature of the, unfortunately, the laws in New York and New York and California and other places and so forth. But it did come a little earlier than I was expecting. I thought we had more time to really, as a community, to make a case for Baldoni's position and to support him. And then as I've admitted before, I was disenchanted with, disillusioned to a degree with the way that I felt Brian Friedman had, I thought, not stuck the landing on this in terms of, I did not feel that he had prepared the public. He had done such a great job of early on and for a long time of getting the public on Baldoni's side and getting Baldoni's side out there and speaking hardcore like a bulldog out there, truth to power to Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and the rest, that it really surprised me when I didn't feel that he had prepared people and Baldoni's supporters and the public for Baldoni's lawsuit getting dismissed like that. And then I felt like there was some wobbliness in the way that it was handled, because as soon as the lawsuit was dismissed, Friedman put out a statement saying that this was not the end and we still have a lot of actionable causes here and we're going to move forward with what's left. And then no explanation was given and no warning or anything, and then the rest of it is just dropped, and it looked like some shakiness, some wobbliness. But again, who am I to judge or to say, because I'm not obviously involved in this and never faced these kinds of scenarios. And I will always, this is my view of Adam Waldman, by the way, in the Johnny Depp situation. A lot of people think that I have something against Adam Waldman because I did some videos and made some posts critical of him a year or two ago, when Waldman was claiming that Johnny Depp's other attorneys, Brown Rudnick, had been shady in their dealings with him. And I don't want to get into all of that. But yes, I did criticize Adam Waldman. But my feeling about Adam Waldman will always be the same that it is about Brian Friedman, which is that these guys recognized, when no one else did or when no one else could, the need to stand up publicly and get in the ring and get down and dirty. And I'm not saying unethical, but get down and dirty and rough and say things that were rough that needed to be said and get out there and make a case for their clients. And I have seen far too many over the years of covering, of the 5 years that I've been covering this Me Too stuff and all of these Me Too hoaxes. I have seen so many attorneys that took such a quiet approach with their client, to the point where um, it was almost like that that the public opinion was not in any way, I felt, adequately prioritized, and that people didn't seem to, they were taking bats to knife fights or whatever, or taking knives to a gunfight, you know what I'm saying? And so Adam Waldman and Brian Friedman, these types of people, they understand that the war is not so much in the courtroom, but it's the court of public opinion. And yes, the courtroom is important and vital at times for what's happening in the court of public opinion, but that ultimately it is about the court of public opinion. And you can't just stay quiet, and you have to get out there and you have to attack and you counterattack and you have to make your case. So great for Brian Friedman for all that. And I do hope going forward that things are handled, in this home stretch here with the Blake Lively lawsuit, that things are handled well by Friedman and by Baldoni's other attorneys. And it seems like so far it is, right? So anyway, but we are looking at the home stretch here of May. Oh, Zach is here. So I'm going to bring him on. A sec. Hey, what's up? Let me make
Hi.
it bigger there. Actually, I'll do this. I'm so glad that you could join me, and I love the Nirvana shirt too. Can we see after the picture?
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. Oh, it's graphic art. All right, cool, cool. You've probably seen it. I have a Nirvana shirt, but it says Nirvana, but it's a picture of the band Hanson from the '90s, the cheesy Hanson, and they look like kinda like Kurt Cobain. It's kind of that sort of like, a shaggy, grungy look, and so people will see, the joke is, of course, that people will see the shirt, the Nirvana label, and they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I love them," and then they see Hanson in the picture.
Uh,
But thank
that's funny.
morning. I told the audience that you gotta run to dinner soon and you're sweet just to work us in. But for people who have not, any of my viewers who, for whatever reason, have not yet watched your show, you wanna tell me your overall impressions of the disclosures that we've gotten, the leaks or what have you, the releases that we've gotten the past few days?
I mean, they're so juicy. We're definitely seeing that Blake Lively, I mean, as Angie Giannetti described her, a terrorist. We're definitely seeing that she was a terrorist and she had so much control over the set of this film. And you can see, like, we heard that, like, she was using Taylor Swift's influence, right? Like, her association to Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds, we heard that, like, she called them her dragons. But not only did she call them her dragons, but like Taylor Swift seems complicit in helping her hijack this movie. We also have Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Anna Wintour, all of these people that Blake Lively was influencing and poisoning against Justin Baldoni. And then we see the text messages with Brandon Sklenar and Jenny Slate, where it appears she's like kind of grooming them and manipulating them.
Yes.
And you see the text messages like to Brandon of like, remember at Roots when he said that thing, that really creepy thing? Like, do you remember what he said? Like, you remember what he said? Or like, Jenny, remember
Planting
you were,
stuff.
yeah.
Yes.
Jenny, you remember you were upset about the Airbnb, right? Like it was, oh my God, like you remember it was like really uncomfortable what Jamie said to you, right? It's just like, it's so crazy how manipulative she was to everybody around her.
I know. And something that I was reminding someone of earlier is that interview that she did years ago where she talked about how when she started first working on the set of Gossip Girl, she immediately took a disliking to Penn Badgley, which is interesting
Hmm.
because they ended up falling in love. You kind of makes you wonder what's going on with her and Baldoni, if maybe she was attracted to him and then but it flipped. But anyway, she talked about in this interview about how she initially disliked Penn Badgley. And what did she say? She turned the entire cast, tried to turn
Hmm.
everybody against him until she later discovered that she liked him and that he was a nice guy, and then she's basically like, "Oh, sorry guys." But it makes you wonder, it makes me assume that she probably from the very beginning was with this film was on a campaign to turn cast and crew against him. And that's why you see, I think, Zach, these weird situations where people like Isabel Ferrer and people like Jenny Slate are taking things that were totally innocuous and twisting them to make them bad. Like, oh, he said that was hot. Well, it was a sex scene. It was supposed to be erotic, right? Oh, he said this was hot, or he gave me the money for my apartment, but he emphasized that motherhood was like the woman's highest calling. Ew, about Jamie Heath. And I think that's the situation, is that she started turning these people against him early, and so they were so biased.
That then they start, well, I mean, Isabella, that one was so crazy how you can see she groomed that girl, because we have the text message from Isabella where she's praising her experience working with Justin Baldoni. Next thing you know, she's having sleepovers with Blake
Blake,
Lively,
yes.
she's wearing her clothes, she's going to dinner with her, she's taking her on trips. And then all of a sudden her deposition now, we hear her be like, well, yes, I did feel comfortable on set, but in retrospect, like now looking back at things like those, they were kind of creepy. And it's like, you don't even realize the level of manipulation that she did to you to then have you really look back in retrospect and be like, oh, actually, no, I that was really creepy.
Right. I totally agree with you. And so I think that's been fascinating. Let me ask you, what are your impressions of the text between Taylor and Blake? Were they surprising to you in any way or not so much?
Um, They were actually very surprising to me. I thought I didn't know what to expect from the text messages. I just knew there was this big talk of these text messages. And I think even Brian Friedman, before, like when he was making a big fuss about the messages, I think he wasn't even fully aware of how much they were going to get in these messages. I think if anything, they were just trying to exploit the name Taylor Swift for the PR game. But then
Mhm.
once you actually get the messages, you realize how complicit Taylor Swift was in all of this, dating back to the first meeting where she met Baldoni. And originally the narrative was that she walked in by accident. She wasn't supposed to be at this meeting. She only met Baldoni that one time. And then you read their messages and they're cackling as Taylor's on her way. And she's like, I need you to walk in on this meeting. And here's the script. And I just need you
Mm,
to, you don't even need to read the script. I just need you to back me up. And people, because I see so many of the Swifties and they're just like, well, we've all sent stuff like this to our friends and it's not that bad. And she just believed Blake. And I was like, no, this was before Blake Lively had any real allegations to lodge
mm.
against Justin
Good point.
Baldoni. This was way before she had any intimate scenes with him, way before, he made the sexy comment, all of that stuff. So this was solely to just have Taylor come in and troll Baldoni. And Taylor did it just for the sport of it. And the part that's really bad for Taylor Swift is she's built this feminist brand,
Mm.
right? This feminist brand on how her art was taken away from her, and we need to fight for the artists because Scooter Braun stole her masters from her, and all of this fuss, right, that she made. And
Mhm.
even the word bitch that she was so hell-bent on with Kanye West, and like how we shouldn't use that term, and that term is so
Yes.
degrading, and she wrote a whole essay about it. And
Yes.
now we see the hypocrisy in her behavior. She's been exposed in a big way.
She has, and the coarseness of the language of calling Baldoni a bitch, and people don't, are surprised that I'm making an issue out of it. Obviously, like, I'd love to drop f bombs and stuff. I got no problem with that
Yeah.
in any, like, in any classical sense. But again, her image and the image that her fans try to hold up in her defenders is someone who is like exceedingly well mannered and sweet. She's a sweetheart. She doesn't have a mean bone in her body, and she's just been sort of inadvertently like a butterfly caught in a spider's web. She's just been caught up in Blake's manipulation or Baldoni's manipulation. And these texts show someone who is in it has a very coarse side, an aggressive side, a manipulative side, a mean girl side. I mean, they absolutely do. And I was amazed or surprised, Zach, at some of the texts, the extent to which they show the degree of planning and manipulation and the kind of
Mhm.
Machiavellianism. Like the one conversation where Taylor is saying to Blake, I can't believe that Baldoni hired me to do the song for this trailer because now that gives you so much more power since I'm basically one of your minions,
Mhm.
is what she was saying, right?
That was crazy because that then shows you that Taylor Swift and Blake Lively were both fully aware that Blake Lively had the control on this set. She was
Right.
in full control. Even her messages to Matt Damon, her email to Ben Affleck, all of those are even where she's talking about, I had to rewrite this script. I had to do everything from this bogus director. He's such a clown. Like it shows she's telling everybody that she's in full control of this production.
She is, and you and others, and like for instance, Donna's done a great job of pointing this out, and Lauren has as well, and CJ. The fact that she wrote that PGA letter, the letter trying to get the producer's
Mhm.
credit, and a big part of that letter was making a case for her being integrally in charge or integrally involved or in charge of all of these different aspects of filming,
Everything.
including human resource management, right?
Everything.
So
Everything.
for her
Pages
to
and
then
pages.
yeah, so then for her to say, "Oh, well, I was just the victim of these larger powers of these men." It's like, "Well, honey, it's that's an interesting perspective because you claimed in your PGA letter that you were a big boss babe."
Yeah. And that was the narrative that her lawyers kept putting out before we saw the PGA letter, was that he was the director. He was the one in charge. He was the studio head. He had a
Mhm.
billionaire backing him. All
Mhm.
of these things, right? And then we're seeing that's not the narrative with her communication with her famous friends. You have Anna Wintour messaging her and being like, "Oh my God, Blake, the movie was so good. I'm after everything that you went through. I'm so glad that it worked out." You have all of the Sony executives that are going scorched earth, dragging her, saying that she, epic level stupid, terrorist, hacking her hair care brand, like the things that they were saying about her, and being like, she's stupid that she would like, wouldn't she just let him go to the premiere? She did this to herself. Like that was a sentiment that they all were in agreement on. All of the Sony execs is that Blake Lively did this reputational damage to herself, and she should have just played ball for the sake of the movie, right? They all
Right.
were like, she should have just, I mean, thought about the bigger picture, which was the film and the success of the film, rather than her own ego.
Right, and I'm so glad that we got those Sony texts or emails because they show what an objective perspective looks like on this because you would expect actually the Sony executives to be in Blake's corner if it were true that you had this weird
Yeah.
outsider company. If Wayfarer, if they were really the freak show, the cultish freak show that Blake Lively was describing them as being, then I don't think the Sony executives in their private communications would be attributing the blame to Blake Lively. They'd be saying, "Hell yeah, this weird cult show coming in here making a mockery of all of this. What a joke. They're such weirdos." But you didn't get anything like that. You got them calling her a terrorist. And that's a perfect description of what she did on this film. She went into this project where everyone around her was looking forward to it, was feeling hyper positive about the venture, even, yes, spiritual about it. You had all of these professionals who were going to pour their blood, sweat, and tears into it, so excited and thrilled to do so. And she just proceeded really quite systematically. If you talk about systemic harassment, systematically through various mechanisms available to her, bureaucratic and also personal, and leveraging her own fame and privilege, yes, and power to harass this man and to take over the film.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. Let me ask you a question? As someone who has followed the Scooter Braun Taylor Swift saga more closely than I have, at least, and my feeling was always that she was being a crybaby, and that whatever happened, it was the way that business often is, right? And that he wasn't some bad, evil Darth Vader coming in there and doing something abusive to her. What is your take on that? What was exactly she accusing Scooter Braun of and of doing?
Well, she accused Scooter Braun of a lot of things. And I don't think that Scooter Braun's relationship with Taylor was, I've been digging into it. I'm going to do a
Uh-huh.
full deep dive of it on the
Oh, okay.
podcast on Monday. And
Oh,
I'm
wonderful.
really going to break it down for you,
Okay.
right? Because I broke down the timeline of the New York Times article and Taylor Swift's involvement from when Jen Abel's phone was confiscated to how it ended up in the hands of Blake Lively's team. We don't know exactly who it was delivered to, but we know it was Taylor's friend Ashley Avignoni, I think is
Uh-huh.
how you pronounce her name. She was the one that seemed to have connected Stephanie Jones with Blake Lively's team, and she's hanging out with Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. Then there's this dinner with Ronan Farrow in October, which is also the same time that the metadata revealed that the New York Times was working on the smear
Mhm.
campaign article. Then we have the text messages with Taylor Swift in early December saying this bitch is catching on to something. He's playing his tiny violin, which most people don't realize that was when Baldoni opened up about being SA'd by his ex-girlfriend. That's what she's referring to with the tiny violin.
Yes, because
Okay.
at that point, nobody knew. I mean, maybe Baldoni had a feeling, right, an indication of it, but nobody else in the public or in these circles knew that Blake Lively was about to go after him. So yes, the tiny violin that you were talking about was him sharing his own story of
Yeah.
struggles with.
So that's what Taylor Swift thinks of victims.
Exactly.
But specific to the Scooter Braun piece, so it looks like it's wild because I didn't even realize like she cried like victim that entire time, and I didn't even realize her father made over $15 million off of that sale. Okay, and she
Mm,
made this whole thing about how there was this ironclad NDA, and she couldn't talk. She could only speak positively about Scooter Braun, and she couldn't say anything negative about him. And the more you dig into it, the more I don't even think Taylor and Scooter had any sort of real relationship as to why she would even think to say anything. But she had the opportunity to buy her masters and she didn't. And the narrative that she put out in the public was so dishonest in the sense of like, she made it seem like they power there was this power struggle and they took
right.
advantage of her and that they stole her masters from her when it's like, no, you were in negotiations, you had an opportunity to purchase them, and not only that, but you ended up purchasing them for what, over $300 million more than what the
Right.
original asking price was. Like,
Right.
it's crazy how she ended up manipulating all of us into believing that she's the victim. And I even look back at it and you look at the AMAs. There was one year at the AMAs where she was like, "Oh my God, I can't perform my songs at the AMAs because I don't own the masters to them. Scooter Braun, that whole deal screwed me, and now I can't even perform my own music." And I remember kind of thinking this at the time that like this feels like a smart marketing strategy because now she gets to then pitch her new music. And she gets to
Ah,
perform her
yes.
new music at the
Yes.
AMAs. And she gets to be like, I can't perform any of my old music. So I just have to do a full set performing my new music for you guys. And it's like, and I remember it was like the week of the awards show when she's just like, I can't perform any of my old music. I don't have permission to. And I'm like, you don't put a show together like that in a matter of a couple of days. Like, you have to
Mhm.
plan and rehearse and have
Mhm.
dance numbers and all of that stuff for at least a week, maybe a couple of weeks. You're planning a performance
Right.
like that, right?
Right.
Because this isn't Dancing with the Stars where we have a quick 30-second number that we're trying to perform for everybody. Like, this is a production with multiple dancers, new songs that nobody's heard of, the whole shebang, right?
Right.
It's just the layers of manipulation, even the Kanye West of it all with Kim Kardashian and the whole, I made that bitch famous line. And she was like, well, I didn't know anything about this song. And then Kim Kardashian's like, actually, we filmed you and you knew exactly about this song. And she's like, well, I didn't know that he was going to call me a bitch. And here's what's wrong with the word bitch. And here she is using the word bitch
So
about
because that was the only thing that she could legitimately complain about, given that she had signed off on
chronic
it.
victim.
Well, I think what you're pointing at too is she has actually a history of being deceptive about some things, which is something that people don't attribute to her. But I know that you have to go. I want to be mindful of your time because you have dinner in just a bit. So thank you so much for showing up here. People need to check out your channel and all platforms. Is there anything else you want to leave us with here?
Tune in Monday. I'm doing my Taylor Swift deep dive, and I'll give you the
Scooter
full
Braun
timeline
stuff.
of the whole Scooter Braun of it all. And maybe I'll work in the Kim and Kanye stuff because it's so crazy how manipulative these women are and how deceptive they've been to the public and how many fans of theirs are just like diehard and like can't see past their bad behavior, out of just
Right.
sheer loyalty.
Right. Absolutely, it is true. Thank you so much, Zach, and we will see you on Monday then.
Yes.
Thanks. Bye. All right. So, and by the way, the reason I put this image, some people in the audience, when I put these images up, they'll say, "Oh, we'll get that off there. We don't want to see them." But actually, I've noticed that I get better numbers when I have an image like this up. I guess because when people are kind of going through different films, different YouTube videos, scanning over the content available, and they see a face that they know, a celebrity face, and they'll be like, oh, okay, she's talking about Taylor Swift and Blake Lively, so I'll click on that. So I don't know. So thanks to Zach for joining us. So we have Lethal Lauren coming up, and Citizen Journalist, and we've got Ewood as well. And so my plan is to stream for at least a good hour because they're going to be joining us in this next hour, and then then we'll wrap it up because I know people have exciting plans to cuddle up with their cats and dogs tonight. So let me just say this: we finished talking, or we wrapped up there with Zach, with him pointing out that Taylor Swift has been exposed as being manipulative, which is contrary to the image that a lot of people have of her. Uh, Sorry. One second. I'm going to take care of some noise here. Right back. Y'all probably couldn't hear that, but someone was speaking really loudly in the room next door, and it was a bit much. Okay, so here's the thing, though, is that I got interested in Taylor Swift's deceptive nature, her capacity, we'll say, for manipulation. Which, by the way, I'm sure almost everyone in Hollywood has that capacity. But where it gets, I think, interesting or worth noting with Taylor is when people assume that she can't be that way. She's too much of a sweetheart, or when they assume that, and when she's in a friendship with Blake Lively, that Blake must be just completely manipulating to her and lying to her because Taylor herself would never partake in some of these catty conversations or these mean conversations or this kind of manipulation, right? So, Taylor Swift, she was in a relationship for a hot minute, not very long at all, with Matt Healy of the 1975. And this to me was what really sunk my opinion of her in a profound way. So let me show you what we're talking about here, and then we'll get back to talking about Blake Lively. So Taylor, for a while, had apparently a secret relationship going on with Matt Healy, it's assumed by a lot of people that she did not cheat on Joe Alwyn because let me remind you, this relationship with Matt Healy, this followed very, very closely on her breakup with Joe Alwyn, the British actor that she had been with and living with for years and years, right? By all accounts, a good guy. And so this is Matt Healy. And so he's the lead singer for the 1974, 1975, whatever. Lead singer. And you could say kind of a rock star, right? In his own right. And so she gets out of the relationship with Aldwin, almost immediately starts dating Healy. I think there could have been some overlap. I'm not accusing her of cheating, but I'm accusing her perhaps of some emotional infidelity, which, it happens at times. Honestly, it's hard for a lot of people to get out of a relationship without having another one to run to or without falling in love with someone else. So I'm not saying that I judge that, but here's where we're heading towards something that I do judge related to Taylor. So she dates Matt Healy for a little while. I think that, especially given the fact that they had worked together before, I think it probably at least was an emotional relationship long before it became an official one. And maybe even this was the reason why she left Joe Alwyn. But at any rate, she's dating Matt Healy for just a little while. And then Matt ghosts her. I think she claims, or dumps her, or whatever happens. He does it nicely. Maybe he doesn't do it nicely. Maybe he just ghosted her. I don't know what happened, right? Neither do you. Nobody knows what happened, okay? But the relationship is over. And Taylor does to him what she's done to so many of her exes. She writes unflattering things about him in a song. And also, she leaves enough clear identifiers in the song to let people know exactly who she's talking about. Now, she did the same thing, by the way, to Joe Alwyn, the nice guy that she dated right before Healy. And again, super, super attractive dude, really talented, by all accounts, treated her rather well. So you'll remember then what happened. She writes a song about Joe Alwyn, and she writes a song about Matt Healy. And again, if you look at the lyrics, there are identifiers to both in there. And what does she say about these guys? Well, I thought that what she did to both of them was wrong, but I thought particularly to Healy. But what she says about Joe Alwyn, basically to paraphrase, is that he was basically a depressive stick in the mud, that he was always bringing her down. She just wanted to fly and be the happy, innocent, fun loving creature that she was meant to be, that she deserves to be. And she had this moody, like the Byronic hero himself, this moody, depressive British actor who's always bringing her down. It was so sad. They could never have any fun because Joe was just like, he was just like Eeyore, right? And she had to endure that, poor thing. I'm paraphrasing here the song lyrics for you, basically. I'm putting them into a story format, a narrative format. She had to put up, oh, good, CJ's here. CJ, I'll bring you on just a second. So she had to put up with him just being depressed and bringing her down. And for 7 years or however, she was basically like one of like Bluebeard's captives, in the castle or whatever. Like she just, she couldn't have any fun. Don't you know, Joe, that girls just want to have fun? Especially when you're a 30-something-year-old who seems to be trapped in the mentality of a, I don't know, 15-year-old. But anyway, so that's the picture that she paints of him, is basically that he wasted her youth. He wasted, as the manosphere likes to say, her good years or whatever, but he wasted all of this time of hers. And she just wanted to have a beautiful experience with him on this planet, in this beautiful world. And he was just depressed and bringing her down. And then finally she was like drowning, like Ophelia. Like she couldn't handle it anymore. She couldn't take it. She had to get out of there. So that's the wrap on him. Now, do I think that that's horrible that she said that in her music, in her songs? I don't think it's horrible, but I will say that as someone who myself has struggled with clinical depression through the years, and I don't say that, like a attention seeking woe is me or whatever, but it is a statement of fact. And everybody who knows me personally knows that it's true. But as someone who's struggled with clinical depression for years, and actually something that's been an issue in my relationship that we've had to deal with, is the fact that at times I think that my partner has felt that I was bringing him down, right? But I can't imagine us breaking up and then him going out and writing a song that everyone we know is going to read and see and speculate about, a song about how much of a downer, a Debbie Downer I was, and how basically I was like a vampire who sucked all of his good years, out of him, and then just, turned into a cold stone that would give him no warmth or affection or anything. I mean, that's basically what she said. But then what she did to Matt Healy, and then I'm going to bring citizen journalist on, we're going to chat. What she did to Matt Healy, I thought, was way, way worse. Matt Healy has, and he has talked about this, he has a history of heroin addiction. And I guess I guess opioid addiction, perhaps in general, prescription drugs too, but heroin addiction. And he has, I think, struggled off and on to be sober. I think he's been sober at least from heroin for a long time. He drinks wine on stage and stuff. And of course, I think alcohol is as bad or worse than any illegal drug, but that's a whole other soapbox to get on. But here's the point. He's sober supposedly when he and Taylor are dating, and he's sober supposedly, at least from the opioids now, right? And here's the thing though. When they split, she writes a song, same album, this is one with Joe. She writes a song in which, first of all, she gives clear identifiers as to who she's talking about, down to the Jehovah's Witness suit, because this is his trademark, is to wear this suit, this type of suit, and the skinny black tie everywhere, right? And then once she's identified him, this is what she says. She accuses him of trying to buy pills from a mutual friend of theirs secretively. That's what she says basically in her song. And the pills that she's referring to, I don't think we're talking about ibuprofen. Now, what this does, what's so mean and awful about this, is that, first of all, this guy might not want people to know that he had that break in his sobriety. And that's his business, okay? It's not anyone else's. And as we all know, people who are trying to get sober often experience relapse. Relapse, what do they say? Relapse is a part of recovery, right? It does not need to be taken then as a cudgel to abuse them publicly and to embarrass them, which is exactly what she was trying to do. So that's the first thing. He might not want people to know that he had a relapse. It might be embarrassing to him. It might it hurts the work that he's trying to do as an example for other people of successful sobriety, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing also is that it's just incredibly in bad taste, I think, to talk about someone else's addiction problems. And the way that she said it, it wasn't with any kind of sympathy. It was like, "Oh yeah, how pathetic you are. You're over there trying to cop pills from a friend of mine." And you know, I'm sure the friend really appreciated that being outed as well. So it was completely unnecessary. And basically, all she was doing was she was trying to take a swipe at him and call him a drug addict and someone who is potentially lying about or misrepresenting his sobriety. And so that's the kind of person, I guess what I'm trying to say is that's the kind of person that I think Taylor Swift is. Yes, I agree. She's all these other things. She's generous to her employees. She's a fabulous singer songwriter. She's been a genius at her craft, at her particular trade in the pop world. But outside of that, I think that she's developmentally stunted. I think that she's narcissistic. I think that she is manipulative. And I also think that she has a very aggrieved modern feminist view of the world. And I'm bringing CJ on because CJ, I want you to watch this with me. I know that you've seen it before. Some of her audience has seen this before, but this is a montage that someone else did. I just grabbed it online and put a label on it. Actually, you know what's funny?
Sexist angle to take.
Hold on. What's funny, CJ, is that this montage is what a Taylor Swift fan put together. So a Taylor Swift fan who's just so enamored with Taylor Swift's feminism put together this montage on Instagram of all of the high points of Taylor Swift's feminist journey over the years. So it was meant to be appreciative, but I grabbed it and I changed it and put this label on there. I said, worth $1 billion, but thinks she's an oppressed woman in a horrible sexist world that's trying to keep her down. And I just want to say, oops, I had a light go out. That's all right. I just want to say this. My viewers know that I like a lot of aspects of classical feminism, like old school Mary Wollstonecraft feminism, or even some aspects of Betty Friedan feminism, you know, when the goal really was a kind of equality and not what we see now with modern Me Too victim-oriented feminism, when the goal seems to be to infantilize people's view of women and to emphasize women's supposed victim status in society. And to me, it's even more absurd to hear a billionaire talking like this. So I want to play this and then get your reaction, and then we'll talk about whatever you want to. But y'all, if you haven't heard it, listen to this. It's not long. Listen to this montage here.
You know, like she just writes songs about her ex-boyfriends, and I think, frankly, that's a very sexist angle to take. No one says that about Ed Sheeran. No one says it about Bruno Mars. They're all writing songs about their exes.
Can I just say, by the way, that male artists have their own kinds of pressure. You brought up Ed Sheeran, girl. Well, I'll tell you that I myself have insulted Ed Sheeran's music as being too touchy-feely, too sappy, too sentimental, too sweet, too weak. And so that's the rap that men have to deal with. That's the expectation that they have to deal with. It's not just women who have expectations.
No one raises a red flag there.
If a guy shares his experience in writing, he's brave. If a woman shares her experience in writing, she's oversharing. She's over-emotional, or she might be crazy. Watch out, she'll write a song about you.
There's a different vocabulary
You do.
for men and women. A man does something, it's strategic. A woman does the same thing, it's calculated. A man is allowed to react. A woman can only overreact.
The most rage-provoking element of being a female is the gaslighting. You know, for centuries, we've been just expected to absorb male behavior. Silent absorption of whatever any guy decides to do. Oh, I have absolutely no right to respond, or I'm angry. I have no right to respond, or I'm out of line.
Yeah.
That response is treated like the offense itself.
You could tweet the word hello. Swifties would be like, yes, queen, she said hello. Swifties would be like, yes, queen, she said hello. But then somebody could be like,
Passive aggressive.
why is she saying hello?
Petty.
Queen?
Why
Yeah.
did she do that?
Yeah.
Why is she greeting us?
Yeah.
Who is she greeting?
Yeah.
She greeted us too soon. She greeted us too late.
Yeah.
She greeted us with a weird undertone.
Have you ever heard someone say about a male artist, I really like his songs, but I don't know what it is. There's just something about him I don't like. We are held at a higher, sometimes impossible feeling standard.
So, so CJ, first of all, any artist that has the crowd scream, fuck the patriarchy, I'm automatically raising red flags there. This person, there's something really wrong with this person. That they think, first of all, that that is a great use of their time or their audience's time and energy, that that's the political statement they want to make. It's just so far out in crazy field. So welcome, CJ, citizen journalist. What is up?
What's up? Nothing. I was just watching y'all while I was eating dinner. I was like, I would have gotten on, but a lot of people don't like the mukbang.
They don't like the
munching.
what?
Mukbang, you know, like those videos where someone's eating and like
Oh, is
that's the
that
whole
what they're
point.
called? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I've never heard that before.
So I was like, let me just eat dinner, then I'll hop on. But I saw you and Zach, and I'm super excited for Zach's Monday show because
Yes.
I honestly had forgotten a lot about a lot of this stuff, which is another thing now that Blake has dragged Taylor. Like her whole reason for cancellation and reasons for all these things is all getting dragged back out. And I mean, a lot of us have forgotten since then because obviously the 24/7 news cycle. But as pertaining to what you just showed us, I didn't realize that she was like that, like Women Hear Me Roar, I guess, because mostly
Yep.
I liked her because of her Easter eggs. There's like a thing on TikTok, it's called the New Romantics, where it's people who like go into her music and try to find all the like Easter eggs in it and stuff like that. And I did know she wrote about like her boyfriends and stuff, but for me, I guess what I liked about her was just the Easter egg hunting. It was fun. It was like solving mysteries, getting clues. And so I was like, was I part of the problem? 'Cause I liked it. She was
No,
feeding
no.
me Easter eggs. She was feeding me Easter eggs. But I was struggling with like whether or not like is she cool? Is she not cool? Like what's going on? Like after I was reading the messages, it's like that initial shock of like, oh wow, okay, so maybe she's not team Wayfair because you remember Brian Friedman
We
had
thought
put
for a
out that.
while that she might have defected. I was going to ask you about that actually. So you
Mhm.
have followed this case more consistently and more closely than I have. And people, if they don't know your work, they should check you out online. Citizen journalist. It's your handle is CJ. Tell me again.
It's C Journalist 24.
C Journalist 24 on Twitter, X, and TikTok and other platforms. But I wanted to ask you, for a while there was a period of time where it seemed like Taylor Swift had flipped, that Brian Friedman seemed to be indicating that he had gotten communications from Taylor's side and
Mhm.
and so forth. And I know that there was a text included in these latest releases where Taylor Swift is actually kind of chiding Blake Lively or is sort of is voicing some concern about things. Mike, we can look at that in a minute, but my question for you is, do you think that she ever was on board with Team Wayfarer or that she did ever defect, or has she just been pro Blake the whole time?
The thing is like you don't know with these people because they could tell you one thing to your face and then act different. Like if you go like read the Sony text, they were acting like all nice to Blake, but behind the scenes they were. So it made me think last night, like I do believe that she did work with the Wayfair parties because I don't think Brian Friedman would just risk everything on a declaration like that. I believe he's telling the truth. And but do we know that she's working with them as like a, trying to get stuff out of them, or pretending she is just to save her own butt, but she really still talks to Blake behind the scenes? Because if anything we can learn from all these text messages is like nothing that's front facing is real, right? Everybody was, Blake was being super nice to Baldoni. She thought they were best friends. Ryan was, and then behind the scenes, even before that conversation, where Ryan's like being all nice to him, they were already calling him names. So it's like, I don't know what to think, whether or not she is at this very second or not. But because I also thought my tinfoil theory was that maybe Ryan wrote that statement when she's like, I had nothing to do with anything. Because I'm like, now that I see any statement from anybody, I'm like, it was Ryan. It was Ryan. He
Well,
forces
I mean, it
people.
makes you, yeah, it does make you wonder. So I was looking for, I just want to play this exact text message that I know you've read this too, and see what your thoughts are about this, because this is the one that people were saying it seemed almost kind of like a breakup message. Let me see. Oh, and also while I'm looking for this, you said that you were surprised to in this montage to hear her be so "I'm woman, hear me roar," and I think that that's the thing that she's done a good job of giving people this perception that she's not as angry as she is, but this is an angry woman, and it does slip out at certain times, like in this montage when she's talking about the gender wars, so to speak, and her troubles as an artist. Someone who achieves what she's achieved, a billionaire status, and someone who is arguably the most successful artist and modern artist and recording artist. I mean, you are, like I said, your apex predator, you're top of the food chain. For someone like that to be angry, girl, you got nothing to be angry about. Now, you can be, yeah, existentially angry at the world. Like, I'm angry we have to die. I'm angry, that our pets have to die. I'm angry that people get sick. You can be angry about like global stuff or deeper stuff like that. But as far as I'm angry because it's hard to be a woman in this business, girl, give me a break. And I just think that this is what happens when someone is successful from a very young age, when also they become the center of everyone's world. Taylor Swift, once she became a successful artist and a successful brand, which began happening in her early to mid teens, she began to become successful.
Hmm.
When that happens, it so developmentally stunts someone. It's kind of like the cliche you probably heard that people stop growing when spiritually, psychologically, whatever, when they become famous, they remain stunted at that age. And I really do believe that Taylor Swift, that we're dealing with the mentality of someone who is about age 15, 16, 17. And I'll tell you something else that's kind of interesting about her relationship with Travis Kelce and this idea of being developmentally stunted. I want to tell you something that her mom said about Travis Kelce. And I'm not sure if everyone in our audience has heard this story or not. You may have. But Taylor Swift's mom did an interview in which, among other things, she talked about the fact that Travis Kelce tried to get Taylor Swift's attention with a friendship bracelet, which everybody knows this, right? Like, she was coming to Arrowhead Stadium and he made a friendship bracelet, or had one made, and he was hoping to give it to her as a kind of a romantic overture. Well, this is what I thought was interesting, is in this interview, Taylor Swift's mom was talking about how when she heard about this, she was the one, apparently, Taylor Swift's mother was the one apparently who heard about Travis Kelce's gesture and his attempt, and then told Taylor. And she said, I thought it was just so cool that he tried to communicate with Taylor, or tried to get her attention with something, using something from her world. Now, she was talking about, her world was talking about the friendship bracelet. And I'm just thinking here, yeah, on the one hand, yeah, of course, it's a nice story, sweet story, or funny story, whatever. But on the other hand, let me ask you a question, CJ. How many, at this point, the period in which Taylor Swift's mother was referring, Taylor would have been about 33, 34. Okay. How many 33 and 34-year-old women, adult women, do you know who are still thinking about things like friendship bracelets, who are still living their life in such a way that people giving each other friendship bracelets is like a thing. And I personally don't know any. Do you?
No, no, but I do think the friendship bracelet was more like to like cater to her audience, because obviously it's hard for her to grow up. It's I don't know if you know who what is her name? Joelle Siwa, Jojo Siwa.
Mm.
Like how she got stunted in, like, trying to be like a 13, 14-year-old kid, because even as she was growing up, they still wanted her hair in pigtails because her audience was still that age and stuff.
Are you saying that you think Taylor Swift herself might not be as stunted, but that it's more of it was the to go along with the
No, she is.
audience?
Yeah, she is stunted. No, she is stunted, but a lot of it I think comes from like the performative aspect,
Oh,
because she has to
oh,
cater to her fans. So she's got to perform, like, like the bracelet thing. But I do think that she's stunted because, and I think Blake is too, because Blake also came up when she was 16, 17. Because I remember
yes.
Britney Spears once said that you get stunted at the age where you become like famous or whatever, and that's why she
Mhm.
still likes dolls and all that stuff,
Mhm.
because she was really young. She's like, what, 7 or 8?
Mhm.
And that's what fame does to you. So I don't know, I feel like the whole her and Travis, like he's the hot football player thing, it's just like they act like they're in high school. It really is.
Well, they do, and I wanna look at it again, I know most of our viewers have seen this already, but I wanna look at the bread making clip or the bread conversation that they had on the podcast that they did, because
Mhm.
it's not like, I don't think that everybody has to be having intellectual conversations all the time. I love, watching reality TV at times. Well, but and also, it would have been, like, a totally funny thing to have said to have talked about her bread making obsession for, like, 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds maybe, right? But the way that they went on and on about it, it was almost to me, it became apparent that this is
A
someone
man does
that Taylor Swift is someone who has basically her entire life, everybody
as
has
you know,
laughed at
and
all of her jokes. They've told her that she's the most brilliant person. Oh my God, you're just the most interesting, awesome. Basically, what Blake Lively was doing, sucking up to her in those texts. And I think that Taylor has internalized it because she was going on and on, like people would find this interesting. I just want to play a bit of it. And by the way, I edited out a lot of this too because I was trying to get the clip under 3 minutes. So just know that all this talking about the bread, it went on
children's
and
purses and
on and
baby
on.
purses.
Here we go.
So I
Yep.
specialize, as you know, in children's purses and baby blankets. I
Yeah.
make two things, and
I
that's
do know
it.
that very well.
The sourdough's taken over my life in a huge way. I'm really talking about bread 60% of the time now. It's become a huge factor.
I mean, and she's getting good with making all these different versions of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite one was probably, the regular sourdough is one of my favorites, but the blueberry.
Yeah, we do. There's a blueberry lemon, cinnamon swirl, cinnamon raisin, and this one I've been workshopping for the girls because they love everything rainbow. Funfetti sourdough.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
It's going
Yes.
to blow their mind.
No, it will. Because
Yes.
they love sprinkles. Like we put sprinkles
yeah.
in everything when we hang out.
Yeah.
It's really yeah.
She's a loafer for life now.
Yeah. And it's gotten
Loafer.
pretty
Fast.
crazy over here. I'm just like
Fascinating.
always like baking bread and texting my friends and being like, can I send you some bread? I need some feedback. Do you like this one better than you liked?
And you might be thinking at this point, if you're watching, surely they're about to wrap this up. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I don't know what the big deal is, right? Why is Kurtz annoyed with this? But no, we're not even halfway through. It just keeps
The
going.
other one, like
Yeah.
I did the rise a little differently. I'm on like sourdough blogs. There's a whole community of us, and I didn't know it.
Oh my gosh.
This is an
The amount of
underworld.
people hoping that you're on their blog
Oh, I'm on your
of
blog,
sourdough.
girl. I'm on your blog. But it's like I just didn't know this. There's people like me out there, and
God.
this is where the internet is good. This is where
Okay.
the internet is a good place where you can curate a reality where like all I really use the internet for is sourdough and when Travis shows me videos of otters on his Instagram algorithm.
I mean,
I want
It's,
I
it's
want
an
a
interesting
wild-
animal.
I want a wild otter so bad.
All right, and then they talk about otters for a while, and then it's back to the bread. It goes on and on and on. So we've got Ewood in the studio. Yay, glad. Thanks for joining us. What's up? Can you hear me?
Hey, hi. Can you hear me?
Hey, what's up? Yes, so we've got everyone. I hear you great. We've got all
Okay.
three, all two of you now. So we got CJ. I know CJ, you went out for a minute, but you're back.
Yeah, it just like kicked me out. I was like, what happened?
Yeah, no worries. It might be too because we're getting the first where I am right now in Texas. We're getting the first part of the anticipated winter storm that's going to be coming in that everybody's freaking out about all over the nation. So the reception might be a little off, but welcome Ewood. And I told people earlier to expect you and reminded everyone the background of your situation and that you had interned on the set of Gossip Girl for just a brief period of time in Paris when it was shooting there. And Blake Lively was rude to you and didn't speak to you and then was also making fun of you, and it was just, it was about what we would expect in terms of Blake Lively's behavior. But I'm curious, we'll talk about this video in a minute, CJ, but Ewood, tell me what, you've been following this whole thing. You've seen the text come out showing that Blake Lively, it turns out that Taylor Swift was involved in bullying and harassing, I think, Justin Baldoni. And she was basically Blake Lively's henchwoman. So, you have any thoughts on this? Were you surprised? Did this surprise you about Taylor Swift?
Thanks for having me, and hello everyone, and hi CJ. Well, I would lie if I said I am surprised. I would say now I feel very disgusted by Taylor. I just think I don't know, like the whole exchange is just unbelievable for
If they
me. Like
do.
it's just it's just one of those things. I think now people can see like the real Taylor, if it makes sense,
Yes.
because she has this persona, but I think now we can all see who she really is. It's not like she's not being involved, like she was very involved in the whole situation. um so it's just, but I'm not going to lie, like I'm very I'm happy that Blake is exposed now, like, because
Mhm.
like those text messages are very specific. It's not just
Yes.
like, so now I'm happy that people can see the type of human I've seen, and it was like 15 years ago, like it was in 2010, when I
Uh-huh.
worked
Uh-huh.
on, and I'm one of those people that I just can give someone the benefit of the doubt. Like I think we can all make mistakes and then we can evolve and change. But it's now clear to me that she's still the same. See, she's still like the same evil, mean, disrespectful, human being that I met in 2010 when I worked on Gossip Girl. So that's the part of the things where I'm like, okay,
Right.
now finally people maybe now understand what I've been saying for, because I spoke about it like in December 2024,
Yeah, it's been a while now. It was.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but it goes
go
to
ahead,
what we were
CJ.
saying about how she was stunted too, because like you said, you met her in like 2010, doing Gossip Girl when she was like way younger. Like you'd have thought there'd been some growth there by now, but
Yeah.
she's still the exact same person.
Yeah, there hasn't been. She has been stunted, and I think that comes across too with, I mean, that's what I see with with the bread thing, with this discussion, is that the way that the guys keep cackling at everything that she says, way past the point of it being, again, if it was a funny quip, it would have been funny if it had been like 5, 10, maybe 15 seconds you could get out of that material, right? But to go on and on and on, I think it was like 10 minutes basically, that this conversation about the bread. They would get off of it for a minute. They talked about Travis's desire to have a pet otter, but then they come back to it. And do you think the otter would like confetti in our cupcakes or this or that? And it's just like, give me a break. But the guys they just cackle at everything she says, and it's very clear that this is a woman who's surrounded herself with, as a lot of celebrities do, with yes men and yes women, and she's just used to everyone just adoring her. On that note, I wanted to read this text exchange with you and with our audience between Blake and Taylor. For those who haven't heard, I think that it's hilarious too, just to read it out loud, because when you read it out loud, it makes it sound that much more ridiculous. You think about two grown women in their, at this point, early 30s, who were talking to each other this way. So Blake Lively says, I'm obsessed with you. I have never felt more like Khaleesi. I have dragons. She's obsessed with that Khaleesi reference there, too. Except my dragons are bred with Cersei herself. Okay. And then to that, Taylor Swift says, I'm just picturing you muttering Dracarys, and then I fire off those texts to Austin. Who's Austin, by the way, CJ? You can tell us in a minute.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah. Okay, tell us in a minute. And so then she says, Taylor Swift says, by the way, and this to me, y'all, was the most jaw-dropping thing in all of the evidence that we got recently. To me, this is actually more surprising even than her calling Justin Baldoni a bitch. She says this, Taylor says this, if Justin was strategic, he would be like no Taylor Swift in the trailer because that gives you more power over the film. That's your ally, Blake, right? That's your ally, not his. And to which then Blake responds, get yourself a best friend who thinks like the actual Roman Empire. And then Taylor Swift says his misogyny, Baldoni's, it runs so deep that he thinks women are incapable of winning chess matches or making long game power plays. To which Blake says, you are so right and so wickedly smart to call it. He should have run from your music. I never thought about that. But holy shit, how stupid. This was his only shot at having the appearance of an upper hand. Now, this is what to me was so jaw-dropping here is the level of manipulation and the level of conniving that we see going on here. I mean, these women, they're talking about long-term power plays and chess matches and Game of Thrones and Roman Empire, and I just want to go to them and shake them and be like, you stupid, silly, spoiled bitches. First of all, ain't none of this that serious, okay? You're a couple of shallow, superficial entertainers. Secondly, ladies, I would say that it's gross, but it's actually laughable and absurd that you're over here thinking that you're strategizing like some kind of big shot Caesar, modern day Caesar, and meanwhile you're really just working on a shitty movie. And I think then the difference between them and you got Justin Baldoni over here, poor guy, because we know from his text messages to people that he was basically sweating bullets and he was on the brink of a total collapse. He ended up having to go to the hospital. These women were driving him crazy. He was trying so hard to be the good guy. He was trying so hard to hold this movie together through blood, sweat, and tears. And he was trying to figure out how to make them happy, how to appease these crazy bitches. And I just think about the difference here. You've got this really genuine good man who's being just put through the absolute ringer and tortured by these women, these manipulative, conniving bitches. So anyway, first of all, CJ, and then Ewood. CJ.
Okay, so Austin, in this text message, they're referencing the song Tears Ricochet. So Austin is her brother who's in charge of her song rights. So that's why she's saying, oh, I can just hear you saying Dracarys because you're like burning him the moment that I send this message to Austin to give you the song.
Okay.
And that's why she thinks all those people that she thanked at the end of the credits, you're now starting to see way back when a lot of our super sleuths on the, the side that sleuths everything out.
Yeah.
We were like, why this person? Who's this person? So we sleuthed at every name and we're trying to make connections. And now we see it was all the people who helped her with the takeover. I mean, minus Britney Spears.
Yes.
But, you know what I mean? It was all these people that she was like, almost like thanking for like, how, basically taking over the thing. Like, thank you.
Yeah, her partners in crime, so to speak. Well, and also, so the Bradley Cooper stuff. A friend of mine who doesn't even care about any of this saw me posting about Bradley Cooper, and what I was calling attention to is the fact that that Blake Lively claims that Bradley Cooper had watched this thing twice, and had watched It Ends With Us, or her cut of It Ends With Us twice. I'm trying to find. Yeah, here it is. So in this message, she said, I guess to Taylor, she said, Bradley came, he watched it twice. And I was saying, first of all, how the hell did he do that? He must be not nearly as busy as I figured that Bradley Cooper, Mr. Celebrity Actor Director, would be. I think either Blake Lively was lying or maybe Bradley Cooper, to shut her up or something, was telling her a bunch of bullshit. I like, oh yeah, it was great. I watched it twice. But Anyway, my friend was asking me like, "What's up with this?" And I was trying to explain to him that basically what happened is you had two competing versions, as you know, of this film. You had the Blake Lively version, and you had the Justin Baldoni slash whoever the editor was on the film version, and that Blake Lively basically tried to rope in her celebrity friends to apply more pressure to Sony and to Baldoni to accede to her version of the film, right?
Yeah, and just like you said, like who has time for that? Like you make a good point when you're like Bradley had time to watch it twice because they're sitting there cosplaying Game of Thrones, and there is a text between Ryan and I think it's Ben, or maybe one of the Sony XX, where he's like, she killed herself for this movie and she didn't spend any time with her kids, and I think he says it in two different text messages, basically saying that she wasn't with her kids. And my first thought when I saw the cosplaying right there was like, girl, go take care of your kids. You're over here pretending you're Khaleesi.
Serious.
Well,
Well,
you have dragons. I'm like, go make sourdough. Go take care of your kids.
oh Lord, I know. We got Lauren on here, but I want to hear from Ewood. So, what are your thoughts right now about any of this?
Well, when you just asked me like before if I was surprised, something that I forgot to say is like you guys remembered when Taylor she was fighting to get the masters, and as
Right.
a musician myself, I felt like I was very, I was moved. I was like, oh, I hope she's going to be able to get her masters back. And when she was crying everywhere and telling us how Scooter was evil, and now like seeing that she was part of the team with Blake just
Right.
to take the movie from Justin is just one of
Right.
those things.
No,
And
you're right. The hypocrisy of that, the fact that she is doing as bad or frankly far worse than what she was accusing Scooter Braun all those years of doing.
yes, and the thing is, um, it's funny because I believe that Blake and Ryan and the other people they were never expecting Justin to fight back.
Right.
There was like I really believe that those guys thought, okay, we're going to do what we want to do, and Justin is not going to say anything. I think they were all surprised to see that Justin was like, no, I'm not going to let you do what you want to do. I'm going to fight back. And I'm thinking about if Justin didn't have like I forgot the name of the guy who was backing him like
Oh,
financially.
Steve Sarowitz, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Can you guys imagine if Justin didn't have this guy financially? I think Justin will be dead, honestly. Like it's just one of those things that I think Justin will be dead in a way that will have not enough like money to fight
I
back.
I totally agree, and that is such a great point. It's like most men in this situation, even celebrity men who didn't have deep pockets to do this. There's so many men in this situation who've just had to roll over and take it, and Johnny Depp, even for a while, he was totally ruined and canceled. And if he
Yeah.
hadn't been willing to dip into his own pockets and pay millions, I don't know either. That's a great point. So we've got Lethal Lauren here with us. Lauren, just tell me again your last. I'm sorry, is it
Oh,
Nedley?
it's 90. Sorry, I'm sorry I'm late. I meant to be here like an hour
No.
ago, but
No, not at
You
all,
like
not at all.
remember her last name? It's like a 90. Like one time she said that on her show, and ever since then I never
Oh, okay,
said it.
that'll help me because
It's a six, like a 90.
I always wanna
yeah.
say neatly, but I know that's wrong. Okay, so
No, that's a different one. Yeah, you're good.
so welcome. I don't think have we done a show together? Maybe we did one. I think we did
No, I
one
think
interview, right?
I was trying to for a little bit, and then we just never got on the same
Well,
schedule.
I'm glad you made it. I know you're feeling bad, and this was a last minute thing too. So nobody's obligated to stick around. We won't be here very long, but I'm curious your overall thoughts. I know that you've shared them with your audience, and I've watched a couple of your videos on this. But what stands out to you of everything that we've learned the last few days? What to you is the most interesting, or what observations do you have that you think are the most interesting on this?
I mean, it's hard to really pinpoint anything. I feel like there's so much
Are you
overwhelming stuff right
surprised?
now,
Were you
but
surprised by anything that we've learned?
I mean, maybe not surprised necessarily per se, but like I mean, it kind of took me aback a little bit. But I was like, at the end of the day, this is not surprising behavior from these people. I think that
Right.
some of the stuff from Colleen and all that, just like reading from Colleen, from Isabella, the thing with licking the spoon, like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, let's talk about the licking the spoon episode. So for people who may not know, what is that a reference to?
So apparently it's this is apparently in the book, which I didn't know, but she says
pull it up
that
on my ex. You can pull it up on my ex if you want, so you can read
Oh,
it
okay.
after she's done explaining it. Go ahead.
Okay,
though, Lauren.
cool. Thank you.
I don't know if you have if you want me to read it word for word from the
Yeah,
thing.
you can read it. Well, I'm just trying to what am I
It's
looking
on my
for?
ex. It's probably like the third or fourth post down.
Okay, I'm looking at your ex here. What am I looking for though?
It's just it says Isabella's cookie dough something, and it's got the text.
Oh, okay. Hold on then. One second. We're gonna call it up because I'm not sure if I'm even familiar with this. If I've heard of this, what you're talking about.
Yeah, she just said like there were a couple of things that basically he did that made her feel uncomfortable, which, mind you, like she did not say anything at the time, did not feel harassed by anything, sent like a nice text message to him about how wonderful and safe he made everything for her. And then she said, well, he asked me to do something who my character as a minor, I just felt it was inappropriate for her to do. And the thing he asked her to do was her character was making cookies with her boyfriend, the high school boyfriend, and the high school. But mind you, these people are in their 20s when they're filming this.
Right.
They're not minors. But
Right.
like, he's like, what your character should do is like lick the cookie dough off the spoon.
Okay.
And she said she thought that was inappropriate.
Well, so basically it was a romantic I'm probably just missing it on your page,
I'll
CJ, but no
send it
worries.
to you.
No
I'll
worries.
link
But
it.
basically, so it's for people to understand, like it's a romantic movie, or it's a movie about romantic relationships, and they have scenes of Justin Baldoni's character, Blake Lively's character, Brand Sklender's characters when they're younger, but again, they're still of age and they're still being played by adults, right? But licking a spoon, I mean, that is just all that shows is a sort of romantic familiarity or some very light eroticism at the most, or it could just be playful, right?
Yeah.
But I think what this gets at, Lauren, and I'm glad you brought this up, is that the accusations against Baldoni, they're all nothing burgers. It's all stuff that's been misinterpreted, or interpreted to be some kind of creepy thing when it's not.
Yeah.
It's just like the reference to the love scene being hot. So he's directing a scene where two people who are of age are having an intimate moment, and then when the scene is done, Baldoni makes a kind of a quip or a joke, says, I probably shouldn't say this, but that was hot. There's nothing at all harassing about that in the least. It's just like if you were watching a scene of where some actors are supposed to be arguing with each other, and let's say that the scene goes really well, and at the end the director says, wow, that was really scary, or wow, that was really intense, right? That's what you're going for. Just like in a love scene, you're going for something, you want it to look hot. And that I want people to understand, who are not familiar with this case, that is the absolute worst that he's accused of, is literally these nothing burger events that these women have reinterpreted in their mind through this crazy Me Too lens, as it's all harassing, when in fact Blake Lively did stuff that was even more extreme, right? She kissed Baldoni without permission, right? She improvised that in a scene. She herself would make sexual jokes. She called things sexy, right? So, I mean, there's nothing to it.
Her
I sent
attorney,
it to you in the private chat if you still wanted to pull it up, because it's funny the way she says it. I put the scene and then I put her her testimony, because it's literally like, he made me do the cookie dough. Then you look at the book and it's exactly the same as what he asked. And I wanted to mention this real quick. Yesterday in court, that scene where he said that she was hot, it actually went against them, because I believe it was Bach, one of the lawyers, that was like, how is that gender-based when he said that to both Isabella and Alex? So he said that was hot.
Oh, yes.
Well, I went there yesterday and listened to it, and her attorney was trying to call this Me Too evidence, saying basically that these like one-off comments made that supposedly in retrospect made these women uncomfortable or whatever were supposed to be Me Too evidence. So yes, technically Blake Lively didn't know about it at the time, so it's not applicable unless you're then using like the FIHA claims, trying to establish that the environment was specifically discriminatory towards women. And so she's labeling these stupid incidents like the cookie dough thing as a Me Too claim.
Exactly. So here's what you gave me, CJ. So here's the deposition, I guess, here, or the motion.
Mhm.
There was a scene in which my character Lily. So this is Isabella now. Okay. There was a scene in which my character Lily is in her kitchen, and the other character, played by my co-star Alex Studer, I can't pronounce it, but anyway, is making cookies. And there was a note that was a change to the scene in which, as he was feeding me cookie dough from a spoon, Justin offered that I lick the cookie dough off of the spoon and look up at my co star in a way that deemed to me kind of inappropriate given the context of the film. Give me a break.
And then if you zoom into the book, it literally says
Oh,
she
okay. So the
looked
book
okay.
so the
He
book
brought the
says,
spoon up to my mouth.
what are you making? I asked him. I pushed my hands on the island, kitchen island, and hoisted myself onto it. Cookies, he said. He walked the bowl over to me and stuck a spoon in the mixture. He brought the spoon up to my mouth and I tasted it. One of my weaknesses is cookie dough, and this was the best I'd ever had. Oh, wow, I said, licking my lips. He set the bowl down beside me and then leaned in and kissed me. Cookie dough and Atlas's mouth mixed together is like heaven. Oh, Lord, is this book that bad? What? No, I have never read this freaking thing. Is the book this bad? This
Me
is some
neither.
bad fucking writing, dude. This
Apparently,
is
it's like really raunchy and like full of smut.
it's like 50 Shades of Grey, except not as kinky, dude. But
And then
wait, we have
Colleen,
to
the
finish it.
author,
Wait, we
I
have to
guess
finish
was
it. We have to.
okay. Go ahead.
He set the bowl down beside me and then leaned in and kissed me. Cookie dough and Atlas's mouth mixed together is like heaven. In case you're wondering, I made a noise deep in my throat that let him know how much I liked the combination. Whoa, I'm getting like hot under the collar here, and it
No,
made
but
me.
you can't because these are 16-year-olds. And I'm like, Colleen wrote it like that.
He didn't
Colleen
stop.
wrote it like this.
He didn't stop kissing me. He just laughed through the kiss, and it completely melted my heart. A happy Atlas was near mind blowing. Also, what the hell kind of name is Atlas? I hate these names. All right, I'm sorry, Lauren. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, you're good. I'm just saying, Colleen, the author, was trying to tell, basically saying that, she didn't want the movie to be like that. She wrote the book like that, but she was trying to say that she told Justin she didn't want the movie to have a lot of like spice in it.
She said that to Justin. She
Yeah.
claims, right?
Well,
She,
that's what
she
she
tried
says.
to blame her editor for the sex scenes. She goes, I didn't want to put any of that, but Johanna made me. And I'm like, I almost want to be like, I would like comment Johanna on this. Is this true or not? And also, did you make her add all those scenes in Woman Down as well? Because like she tried to pass the buck and say that it was her editor and that she would never put them in there.
So, can we talk about the lies? To me, this was another thing that was pretty surprising. Is the text exchange between them? I don't have it in my fingertips right now, but the text exchange between Blake and Taylor, where tell me if I'm wrong, ladies, and Ewood, where basically they are congratulating each other on lying to Justin Baldoni about something. Can one of you explain what's going on there in that exchange? Do you know what I'm talking about? They talk about something about lenses, and he thought you were a doll. Do you know?
I mean, we don't have a lot of context for like what exactly she said there, but I know what you're referencing. She said something about her making up stuff about lenses and
Yeah, they
saying
were
that she's
misleading
my
him though,
doll.
right?
Yeah.
Like they were lying to him about something. Taylor Swift.
My
had-
theory is about her directing her remember she directed her music video. So when I think lenses, I think camera lenses. And so she was probably telling her like, like she knew more than what she actually did, maybe. But she's like, you're making up all these
Oh.
lies about, or telling them that I know about lenses or whatever. That was my theory because she did direct her music video, and
I'm
she's
trying
trying
to find the
something.
exact. I'm trying to find the exact quote because again, and it's not just about the particulars, but it's also about the utter glee that they were taking in the fact that they had misled him about stuff and that they were manipulating him. And let's see if I can find it here. Anyways, just the level again, the level of manipulation, and I think this will surprise a lot of people who would not expect it from these ladies. I'm going to try to find that quote, but Ewood, do you think that this is do you think that Taylor Swift is probably still friends with Blake at this point or not? Because I was surprised at the song Canceled, that Taylor Swift released not too long ago, released a song in which she clearly supports Blake Lively. I know at the time people were saying it might not be about her, but I think since then everybody's come on board. The Gucci reference, Blake was a Gucci representative, and then also the reference to the violin, the tiny violin, which now we find out is something that Taylor Swift was saying about Baldoni. So, do you think that Taylor is still in Blake Lively's camp?
Yes, yes. I
Yes.
think, yeah, I think she's still friends with Blake. But now that the text messages are now public, I think she either going to play the victim and say, "Oh, I was just trying to defend my friend, and I'm all about protecting women," those kind of things,
Mhm. Mhm.
or she's going to stay silent. I think it's either she's going to pretend she was the victim and she believed what Blake said to her in the first place, or she's going to stay silent and not say anything. And I think it's not uh, it's I think it's this year, right? She's going to be in inducted in the songwrite in Hall of Fame of Songwriters, something like
Oh,
that.
Taylor Swift, the
Yeah,
Songwriter Hall of Fame. Okay,
yeah.
probably.
So I think this big event is also going to uh, put to bed, in a way, her involvement in the whole situation. You know what I mean? So because she's very good at PR, uh,
Mhm.
thing. So I think she's still friends with Blake, but she's just found a way for her to survive this whole situation. She has such a huge fan base, so I don't think it's going to hurt her brand, but she's going to either, like I said, stay silent and just let her team play the PR, game, or she's going to go public and say, "Oh, I thought I was just defending my friend, and I thought like she was like facing predators, So that's how I think things are going to go in the future.
Well, I think that she will definitely try to avoid it. Taylor Swift avoid it, addressing it in any kind of direct way, unless she feels like the coverage that she's getting on social media and stuff is so negative. I don't know. And of course, if there is a trial and she ends up being called as a hostile witness, then that could change things too. I wanted to read the part where these are two women who are kind of on top of the world. And so, of all people, I think they have the least reason to complain about stuff. So, I mean, again, to me, it's like, it's just a lot of it is very bizarre. Lauren, do you think that I know you're not a legal expert, but you've covered this, you and CJ probably more closely than a lot of people that I know. Do you think we're going to actually get to a trial, or do you think this thing is going to settle before then?
I mean, some of the contract stuff sounded like it might. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth going to trial, but it'd probably be something like maybe they could go to trial, but that ultimately they decide to like not go to trial on those. But like the sexual harassment claims and stuff, I don't think so. The retaliation stuff, which you would think that the retaliation stuff would go out the door if the sexual harassment stuff does, but I guess technically that's not true. So I don't know about that. But I don't know. A lot of this stuff is probably not going to go there.
Do you think that both sides want to avoid trial when it comes down to it, or do you think that there's one side over the other that would like to go to trial, or do you think they're both
Um,
kind of like, because I know the thing with trial is it's unpredictable, and that's a risk. You don't ever
yeah,
know. Even though we are team Baldoni and we think that he is in the right, and
yeah.
we would hope that if this goes before a jury that they will have the same kind of insight that the Johnny Depp jury had, for example. You
Mhm.
don't ever know how it's going to go, and and the public are so fickle, things can come out. I don't know.
I mean, I think I think neither side will want to go to trial at this point for different reasons.
Mhm.
I think that he probably just wants to move on with his life now that all of this stuff is out there on the record and it's not like hiding on a private, attorney's eyes only basis. I think she would I want to probably avoid trial at this point because this could possibly end very poorly for her. And if it does, all of her friends are going to have to go up on that stand, and a jury of people who cannot relate to these Hollywood elites who bullied someone out of their, their
Right.
livelihood and their 5 years of hard work on their art. They are not going to relate to a lot of that stuff. Some of the
Right.
sexual harassment claims, there could be so many women on that jury who face terrible things in the workplace that are going to be like, you guys are fucking brats. I don't
Right.
think it's going to go well for her and her friends. So
Right. Here's that message, by the way, that I didn't get to earlier, where we were talking about in the message. It seemed like Blake was maybe a little annoyed. So this was her response to Taylor. She says, "Taylor, no, you're not wrong." Oh no, wait a minute. Which is this Taylor talking? So
Yeah, that one's Taylor.
oh, okay, I understand now.
You
So I
read
was
it backwards.
confused.
That's okay.
All right, so Blake was the one. All right, that makes a lot more sense then. I'm sorry. So Blake was the one. I'll have to edit that out when I go back and edit out the live stream. So this is what's going on then. Blake was sensing, it looks like the beginning of December 2024. This would have been right before she puts out the New York Times article and really gets on Baldoni's case and files that Blake is the one who I guess was sensing some distance from Taylor Swift. And so she sends her this very rambling, ineloquent message, but saying basically, I'm just checking in, want to make sure everything's, fine. I know I've been in my own shit for a while. And so this is Taylor's response. She says, "No, you're not wrong." Meaning, yes, you did sense some distance. You're not wrong to feel like something's kind of off, but it's also not a big deal. I think I'm just exhausted. Taylor says, "I'm just exhausted in every avenue of my life, and in recent months had been feeling a little bit of a shift in the way you talk to me. Yes, there has been a lot of the Justin stuff, but I've been through things like this before, and I know how all consuming it is." I guess referencing her Scooter Braun drama. "It's more like, and I feel really bad saying anything about this because your texts have been so nice in their intent, but your last few, meaning your last few texts, it felt like I was reading a mass corporate email sent to 200 employees. You said the word we like 18 times, and it feels awful to be in any way critical of a friend who critical in any way as you process what you've been going through, but I just kind of miss my funny, dark, normal speaking friend who talks to me as herself, not like a plural unit. When it's a group I'm hearing from, I feel distance from you even more than when we are geographically. And I know you feel attacked from all sides for ridiculous reasons, so you're feeling like you have to overly explain things or be overly nice or whatever, but it's me. That's just caused a little distance." Basically, what it sounds like here, y'all, is that Taylor Swift picked up on the fact that she was being handled by Blake Lively, and also that her communications with Blake Lively were now being filtered through the we, meaning, of course, Ryan, but
yeah.
also perhaps Blake Lively's team. And so I think Taylor Swift was dead on there. And I'm just surprised that Taylor Swift that she stuck it out with Blake Lively through this, and that she even put out that song Canceled, because I would think that Taylor would want to just get the hell away from all of this. Taylor had time. She and her team had time to look into the truth of this. They had time to figure out what was going on, and I just think she should have just walked away totally and washed her hands of it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else, y'all? It's a great show. We've done we've been going at it for a bit of time now, but we have a little bit of time. I wanted to get your thoughts. So Lauren, where are you at now in your mind with things? What are you thinking about?
I just feel like some stuff is really like a little irritating. It's nothing new, but with the mainstream media and headlines and people who don't follow this closely are now going around saying, well, so many women came forward and complained about him. And I was like, did you listen to the complaints though? Like the complaints are, Jamie Heath gave me $15,000 to get a new apartment, and he said it was because I was a mother. Like it's stupid shit like that.
Hey, can we talk for a second about how awful this woman is, Jenny Slate? So I posted something earlier, a picture of her with Chris Evans, and hold on, let me bring it up here. So, okay. So I posted this picture of her with Chris Evans, and I asked everyone, and of course I'm going to get in trouble with some people here, I guess, but everyone likes to insult Jenny Slate. I said, someone please explain how this happened, meaning this pairing. And then I say, yes, looks aren't everything. Yes, I guess personality isn't everything either. Maybe he's just attracted to mean women, like some women are attracted to assholes. What's the deal though? Did they co-star together, or how did this pairing happen? Do we know?
I have no idea. I didn't even know they had dated until I started following this stuff.
I know, dated and apparently been fairly serious. Like, it was not just a hot minute that they were together. And I don't know. She's supposed to be a comedian, right? Maybe she can be kind of funny, but I feel like there are a few people that are the most despicable in this whole saga. And I feel like Lauren, for the reasons that you just mentioned, that Jenny Slate is one of the most despicable because, like you said, she went to Wayfarer asking for their help because she was in a apparently a small apartment. It was too small for
Yeah.
her and her child. And they could have given her a hard time, but Jamie Heath, whom she met with, was so understanding and they gave her what, 15,000 to get into a better apartment. And she turned that into
hmm
a an episode, an allegation of sexual harassment because she
Yeah.
claimed that Jamie Heath told her something made a statement to her about the sanctity of motherhood.
Oh, the weirdest part of that whole deal is that actually there are texts now that kind of explained what happened. She and Blake, not in addition to talking to Jamie, I guess also had been talking to Justin about this. And I maybe she was joking, I'm not sure, but she said to Justin like the place that she was in, like the bed was bad for sex or something, like it was small.
Who said that?
Jenny Slate did, and Blake and Jenny started joking about that, and then they, in the text message, it shows like they were just like, "Oh," she's like, "Oh, it's fine, Jenny, that you made that joke," because she apologized. It's fine, but it's weird that Justin thought he could be in on the joke, and I was like, "You were talking to him about
it."
Because she says it's bad for sex, and then he replies and laughs and is like terrible for sex.
And then they're like, he's a sexual harasser.
So then she was apologizing, like, "I'm sorry, Blake, that comment was inappropriate." And then she's like, "But why would he even like think that he could come in on the joke?" But what I'm saying, it's like it's okay. She was basically saying, oh, and then she says women can say it because women to women is like a safe space. So basically saying like, don't feel bad, Jenny, because women can be blue or whatever, which blue is like, I guess, crude humor.
Yeah, blue humor. Well, of course, that's the thing with people like this is there's always an excuse that gets them off the hook. So Blake Lively can make comments about, "Oh, I do it without teeth," and she can call things sexy and she can call things hot, and they can even make jokes about the bed being too small for sex.
Mm-hmm.
And they can be as raucous or as blue or as sexualized as they want. But as soon as a man enters into that discourse, no matter how lightly, he was present. They were joking in front of him, right? As soon as he does that, then, oh, he's a harasser. And I think that's actually an excellent example of the dynamic that modern Me Too, victim-oriented feminism has brought to us, where men have to mind their P's and Q's and watch every word that they say, and they have to stress out over whether they could be misinterpreted or they're hurting someone's feelings or whatever. Women can just run wild in any context and say whatever they want. I wonder, Ewood, I mean, how does that make you feel as a man and as an artist? I mean, do you feel like you have to be more careful and self-censoring than women do in your life?
Yes, I think so. And it's and the thing is, something that I wanted to say about the whole situation is like, we've been waiting to get any evidence of sexual harassment, and so far there is nothing. And as someone who has been sexually harassed, and sexually assaulted by a casting director, a few years ago, that's one of the reasons why.
You're saying you had an experience like that?
Yes, and that's the reason why I'm very mad about like the whole situation, because of what is happening with the whole case. Is going to be even more difficult for real victims, to talk about like what happened to them, and that's one of those things, because I've said since the beginning, regardless of what my encounter with Blake was, even though like I didn't like when I worked with her like on Gossip Girl set. If the whole situation was true, I would have been behind her 100% and said, okay, well, Justin has to pay for what he did,
Right.
But the thing is, it's been now more than a year, and we haven't seen anything proving, her claims, like saying that Justin was a predator, or even like Jamie, like it's just like it's mind-blowing for me to we are here and there is still nothing,
Right.
there's nothing, like, so it's just like it's not like being mean and just being against her. It's just like the reality is like her lawyer said, well, we have
Oh,
where are the proof? They said that people have been speaking up, but where are those people?
right,
I
right.
haven't heard anyone saying, "Oh, Justin was a predator." So it's just crazy because at the end of the day, the whole thing was about, oh, she was not in a safe place and Justin was a predator. But where are the proof of that? There is no proof of that. And I felt like both of them, Blake or Justin, they might not want to have this trial. I just believe that Justin need this trial just for his name to be, clear, because otherwise there's still going to be something around being like, oh, this guy might be a predator. Does it make sense? I just feel like even though
Yeah.
we have like those text messages and everything, we still need like something public to clear his name, because what they did was just, it seems like we are in high school, like we have
Right,
the very popular one from one side, and then you have like, let's say Justin was part of the nerd group of
right,
people, and they
right,
were like bullying. They just were bullies, to
right.
him. So
Right.
it's one of those things that I just hope, even though let's say there is no trial, then there will need to be like some apologies to Justin, something, because otherwise I think his reputation is going to be still tarnished by the whole case.
Well, the problem is that he has no leverage. I agree with you. The problem is Justin has no leverage since the legal system, the judicial system, and the judge dismissed his case. He really has no leverage to demand an apology. So it really, if he's, I don't think Justin is ever going. Now, I may be surprised that we may get a settlement that is in some way helpful to Justin in that way, but I really don't think that, short of actually having a trial,
Yeah,
that he's going to get that. And that was the estimation that Johnny Depp made. I don't know how many people know this, but the night before his trial was due to start, the Virginia one, Johnny Depp was on the phone with the lawyer who got Stephen Avery's case. Was it turned or overturned or whatever? The Making of a Murderer lawyer, and he was on the phone with her because she had done some consulting on Depp's case, and knowing what she did of the legal system and for the way that things can go awry in even in a trial, she basically told him, just go ahead and settle, drop it. And he didn't, because he so wanted to clear his name, and it was good that he did. But that's the reason why I wish that we could have a trial. I wish that we had gotten a trial in one of the Marilyn Manson civil suits instead of those settling, even though that was probably the best thing for him. His career has gone on, but there's really no way to get people to take you seriously otherwise. Um, and as far as like who's actually accused him of anything, the only people who've accused him of anything are Blake Lively, Jenny Slate, Isabel Ferrer, and to a degree, Colleen Hoover, we see in some of these text messages. But again, when you actually look at their accusations, there's no evidence, as you said, of anything that was of any wrongdoing. All we see are these minor instances of things like, oh, he said that was hot, right? And
yeah,
so it's the same thing with the Jamie Heath birthing video. And that was, to me, that was just completely infuriating, the way that Blake Lively twisted that beautiful experience, and the fact that Jamie Heath wanted to share that when they were working on a birthing scene as an example of, maybe we could have something that looks like this, or that is inspiring like this, or whatever. And she turns that around and says that that's sexual harassment. It's just ridiculous. Um, all right, so
The jury's gonna have to think whether getting shown a birthing video is worth $8 million, because that's how much she's asking for. So it's like, how much is punishment enough? It's like, oh, my bad, I showed you something I probably shouldn't have showed you. But what, now we're taking people to federal court for $8 million for that?
Yeah, exactly. And can we talk too briefly or just mention the religious bigotry that comes through in some of these messages where Blake and I don't know if it's Isabel Ferrer or Jenny Slate or Ryan Reynolds, but others were referring to Wayfarer as a cult studio, and that basically this cult came in and tried to and created a toxic environment on set. I mean, first of all, it's not a cult, and people can read up on the history of Baha'i, but it's a universalist faith that's actually extremely friendly to all other perspectives, and it doesn't center around some guru who's having sex with young females or anything, right? But they're kind of religious bigotry here, and the fact that they all seemed turned off by a spiritual perspective on things. I think this just again shows that when you have people that are bad people and soulless people, that when they meet a genuinely spiritual person with a genuinely spiritual perspective, they can't handle it. It's repulsive to them or something. Lauren, do you think that there was a lot of religious bigotry here?
I do, and especially you can see where she's exaggerated stuff. Because I read his whole deposition, I read all of her pages that have come out, and the way she was describing it, even in emails to like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, whoever, like she was describing this as a cult, and she would say like, "Well, Justin, he talks to my dead dad all the time," and I'm like, okay, but he made it pretty clear, like when he was describing this, that like he was praying, and some people spiritually believe when they're praying, like you can say like, please like watch over us or whatever,
right.
And that's kind of what he was alluding to, and she says like all kinds of crazy stuff about that, but she also like talked to him in a manner that made him feel like they were friends. Like literally, I think CJ may have mentioned this before, literally saying you're safe here when he like said something, and he wanted to clarify that he wasn't trying to be like weird or whatever. He even was careful with his wording. She's like, you're safe here, and then she goes and says all this crazy stuff about him behind his back, which is just wild.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is another aspect of this that makes it clear that we're dealing with a predator here. The Sony executives in the leaked documents, they referred to Blake as a terrorist, and I think not only a terrorist but a predator in the deepest sense. And that what she did to Baldoni is she, in a very duplicitous, two-faced way, she drew him in, and she sought to give him. It's almost like when the government is trying to get somebody and they entrap them. Like this was a form of sort of psychological entrapment, where Blake went out of her way to make him think not only that he was welcome to be himself and to share whatever he wanted to share, and that it was a safe set, but also to make him think that she was a tough, sophisticated, worldly chick that could talk about sex and it's no problem. Or the breastfeeding thing, the way she was so open about talking about her breastfeeding, and at one point he asked if he could come talk to her in her trailer about something, and she's like, oh yeah, just come on in, I'm just pumping. And to give off this really casually sexual impression that I'm very comfortable with my body and breastfeeding, sexuality, and this and childbirth and all of this, that's the impression she gives off. And so that causes people to lower their guard, and it's a very predatory thing to do. And again, it shows what kind of a person Blake Lively is, to get someone, to entrap them into lowering their guard and into behaving in a more casual manner, and then to turn around then and hold them to standards, these woke workplace standards of absolute, not just propriety, but sterility. That's a completely sterilized workplace where we can't make jokes, we can't make comments about anything being hot, that sort of thing. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So, everybody, thank you so much for being here. It's a Friday night. I don't want to keep you all much longer or anything like that. I want to give everybody a chance, though, to promote their stuff. Oh, and by the way, Neil, thank you for the not the super chat, but the PayPal message. And by the way, if anyone wants to donate, my links are below. But he says, I've just learned that Leo is an MK Ultra victim, and I'm thinking the same of Blake and Tay-Tay, maybe even a school of Me Too. I just need to find a link to the CIA. Candace Owens, help. Yeah, Candace Owens is she's another one that is inexplicably, just like Blake Lively, decided to just self-destruct in front of everyone for no reason.
But that's funny. That's funny that he says that, because I'm a tinfoil head. But that's part of like the whole new romantics movement I was telling you about, is that it's a movement that thinks that these artists are trying to tell us like that they're, either MK Ultra or like,
being
like
handled.
like the music business has a hold of them, and the only way they can tell us is through the artistry. So we go and we look for all these Easter eggs. It's pretty tinfoily, but it gets fun.
Oh man. Well, I've tried to save you from some of the more extreme tinfoil
Rabbit
perspectives.
holes.
You've got the
Yep.
thing is you've got a good head on your shoulders. So like I at times you'll come to me and you'll say, "I've heard this, but I don't know. It doesn't really seem right to me." And I'm like, "You're right. It's not right." So, anyways, I'm sorry to the chat that I did not have time to engage with you more. We ended up having more people on at the same time than I anticipated. So I wanted to make sure that I just got to them. But thanks again, everybody, and I want everyone to be able to promote their stuff. CJ, we'll start with you. So it's CJ. Tell me again your handle one more time.
It's C Journalist 24 on it on all platforms, and
All right.
I'll be on my regular Monday shows. I have a objection. It's called Objection on Monday mornings. So I'll be back to doing that on Monday. I think I'm going to have Carol and Lauren, if you want to come on. I know it's probably early. Well, you're East Coast too, huh? It's
Oh
usually
yeah,
8
it usually
Eastern.
just depends on my work hours.
So
But
I'm putting up
I
a
was going to send everybody the link anyway. I wanted to see if anybody who was at the courthouse wanted to come on to
Sure.
chat with my community. So I'm going to try and do that. I know Carol had gotten back to me and said she might be able to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I'm going to be up to, just that. And then just still going through, I'm still reading through all the documents. There's still a couple ones. Today I found out that Perez Hilton text got leaked. So I was like, how did I miss that one? I don't know how I missed it.
What was the
But
text? Do you know?
yeah, it was text between him and Melissa Nathan,
Okay.
Baldoni's agent. So it was in January, and you remember that Reddit post that somebody had posted like a really long time ago that was like in August, I think maybe, before any of this, before the lawsuit, that said, "Hey, I know what happened. Sony was,
Oh yeah,
she,
yeah, yeah. They
did
yeah,
that."
yeah.
So Perez sends her that message and is like, "Hey, I'm just asking for comment if any of this is true." So it was all like above the board, like reporting and stuff.
Right.
But I'm sure Blake's people twisted. But yeah, so I have to
Yeah.
dig into that because I haven't been able to. And then Andy from Popcorn Planet, I was trying to have him on as well because he just got a response for his subpoena stuff
Uh-huh.
yesterday from Sigrid McCauley. So while he was in the court, we were talking about it. While he's
Uh-huh.
in the court, she's trying to tell him he's not a journalist and getting all his stuff while he's there as a journalist,
Oh, I love
you
it.
know,
I love it.
reporting on this. So it was pretty crazy. And that was like 150 pages long. So I want to get into that and help
Cool.
support him while he's going through all this
Okay. Cool. Well, we
with
got
his
your
battle.
all right, I've got your link up there so people can
I
go to your
appreciate
Twitter
you.
and go
Thank
from
you. Thanks,
there.
Lauren. Thanks, Ewood.
Thanks.
Appreciate
All
y'all.
right.
Thank you.
All right. We will see you later. Bye-bye. All right.
Bye.
She's always great. Okay. So, and Ewood, I have the link that you wanted me to post for your project that you're working on. Tell us a little bit about that. Here's the GoFundMe for that, but tell us a little bit about that project.
Oh yes, well, thank you for that. We are. So as some people know, I lost my brother, to suicide a few years ago, and I'm working on a film, a documentary, about suicide prevention in the UK and in France. So I'm asking like all the people who care about like mental health, suicide, who went through something similar, with a friend or family member, to help me, to make this documentary. And so this documentary is not about my brother. I'm going to be like the narrator, and I'm going to interview different type of people who experience, losing like a husband, a wife, or a child to suicide, and just trying to find ways to make like life in society better, like just to reduce the number of people, dying, of suicide. And also like there is so many men, because the
Right.
way society sees men struggling is very different, if it makes sense. So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
ju- I just want to make the difference, the rate of men like, killing themselves every day in the UK, the number is crazy. So I just
Well,
want
that
to make a
ties in
change.
too, to what's I think why this is one of the reasons why what has happened, what's been done to Baldoni is so horrible is because you have someone here who actually, with Justin Baldoni, who made an effort to open himself up and to be not sensitive in a cliched way, but to actually really share in this project and with the people he was working with and with the public his struggles and
Yeah.
to deal with the pressures and expectations put on men. And I also want to point out too that I think that one of the reasons why Blake Lively was so repulsed by Justin Baldoni is because she's used to men like Ryan Reynolds who aren't into sharing their feelings, who are into making lots of sarcastic, ironic remarks and bullying people and
Yeah.
that sort of
Yeah.
that sort of toxic masculinity. I mean, come on. If we want to point at someone who is emblematic of toxic masculinity, that's Ryan Reynolds, as far as I can see. And you can even see it in his movies. I mean, not to diss Deadpool, but what they, it's okay, I guess, if you like movies like that and it's clever and funny. But like what, Deadpool is actually all about that kind of sarcastic, kind of hard hitting masculine type humor. And in fact, what they did in Deadpool to Justin Baldoni with the nice pool character, they ridiculed him for being in touch with his feelings and for acting in a way that's not stereotypically masculine. Like to me, I guess what I'm saying is when you talk about men having trouble in our society expressing the pain that they feel and their emotional pain, I think that
Yeah.
things like what Blake Lively and Taylor Swift and these women are doing to Justin Baldoni is just another way in which men are abused in our society. And again, it was very
Yes.
predatory and very sad what Blake Lively did, making Justin Baldoni think that he, as a man, was in a safe space where he could express the struggles that he has had over the years in terms of his masculinity, and he could open up his heart and his soul, and he could try to relate to these people as friends. And then she ends up using it against him. That's the complaint that so many guys are making now about toxic femininity, right? So everybody,
Yeah.
I hope that you'll check out that link that I posted. And also, Ewood is on Twitter. Let me post the link to your Twitter page, and of course, from there they can check out your music and everything. And also, if people haven't checked this out, you and I were featured on Megyn Kelly's show. She found that
Yeah.
interview that we did a while back, that first interview that I did with you, and
Yes.
she showed it and she commented on it, which is really cool. So that video is also on my channel and it's on your page. People can check that out. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have you again.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah.
All right. Bye bye. All right, Lauren. So it's just you and me.
Cool.
What are you working on these days? Are you primarily focused on Blake Lively versus Baldoni?
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I've tried to branch out into a couple other things here and there. It's a little hard to keep up heavily with anything
Oh
else, just
Lord,
because I
well,
have, you know.
you do it better than anyone. That's what's funny about it is if you have a hard time keeping up, I don't even try. Basically, I have decided that from here on, I am going to cover this a lot going into May, but that I'm just going to do what I've done this weekend, which is pick and choose the parts that I think are most interesting to me.
Yeah,
But
that's fair enough.
you do a great job, though. Really, I know you don't feel like you stay on it 100%, but you do a great job of really getting in there and staying on it with the day to day and with all of the legal maneuvering and everything. Can you tell us basically what was decided at this hearing, or has anything been decided, or what are we waiting on the judge to decide? Are we waiting for a summary judgment perhaps, or a dismissal?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the lawyers that had been there and who were commenting on it said the court, like they've reviewed all the documents. They probably started writing something up, but it could take up to like, well, maybe not even longer than this, but they could say it could easily take like a few weeks or a month before we hear anything back. So we have no idea.
And is that what we're waiting on, though? Primarily, is to see if the judge makes a summary judgment or if he dismisses this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me also the 47.1 statute in California that Blake Lively's team was asking the judge to invoke, whereby she would get treble damages, a triple penalty if he dismiss or if he sides with her rules for her. Would that also at that point be adjudicated? Let's say that the judge, and I hope he doesn't, but let's say that he were to do a summary judgment in favor of Lively, would that then be when the triple damages would be assessed if they were going to be?
I think that on that kind of stuff, it sounds like it most likely either it will go to trial or it will get thrown out. I don't think that he would at this stage like rule in her favor on that on a summary.
Okay.
I don't know if you can even do that, to be honest. I have no idea.
Okay, so we're just talking
yeah.
if we are talking about a summary judgment. I see CJ is still there. Sorry, CJ, are you there? Can you give a little more light on this? So are we talking about, so a summary judgment would just be for dismissal then of Blake Lively's claims?
of Blake Lively's claims, yeah, that's all it would be. Would just be those, because I asked. Remember, I told you I asked little girl attorney yesterday about the
Yeah.
Was it the 47.1? That's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
She basically said that it wouldn't be anytime soon, that it could be anytime after. But I didn't ask her if it got dismissed when it would be. That's a good question, but I'll ask her.
She said it wouldn't be. It would be anytime after what?
She said, all she replied back was it wouldn't be anytime soon. It would be way after.
I
So
know,
I
but
don't know
way
after what.
after. Oh, you don't know
I
after
don't
what?
know. She
Down the
just said
road.
it'd be
I
after. It
gotcha.
wouldn't be anytime soon.
Gotcha.
But
All
I
right.
know that with the Drake UMG one, that whole one, they took, I think, like almost 6 weeks, almost between 6 and 8 weeks before she gave her ruling on
Okay.
that case. So I don't know how long. When I asked LGA how long it would take for the MSJ ruling, she's like, he has up until May, up until the trial.
Oh, right. So I think that I don't think it's going to get dismissed, and I'm not saying it's because I see Blake Lively's case as being valid. I think it should have just been dismissed a long time ago, but I just don't see in this particular climate, this particular court in New York City, we're still in the Me Too era, even if some people are becoming more skeptical. And I don't see a judge wanting to dismiss this thing, because I think that he would be afraid that that would be perceived as him being soft on sexism or him being anti-woman or whatever. I think the judge is going to want this thing to go to a jury so that it's off of the judge's hands, so to speak. It's out of his hands, sort of like Pontius Pilate washing his hands before the crowd and saying, I'm going to give this guy to you, but his blood be upon you, right, not me. I think that Lyman's going to want this thing, the buck, to not stop with him, and if he dismisses it, or if he's, then that's going to be taking all the responsibility on himself. But we will see. But anyway, thank you so much, ladies and everybody. I have all of my videos linked below. So if you want to check out, I've done like 80 videos on this case, this saga. And of course, the ladies here have done many as well too. So check them out, and check out Ewood, our guest earlier. And yeah, I'll see you all later.
Thanks. All right. See you later.
Thanks to my viewers, mods, everything. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. All right. And we are ending this